Good morning and welcome to another look in my week of neutral looks using my McGrath palettes here on my channel. I've been in the process of filming these already for 2 weeks and I think that I have a few more looks in mind, so if I manage to film until the end of this week, you will see I think 3 more looks coming up and then I might call this series done. But for now you can count on at least 2 more videos coming up. Today we are finally doing a more cool toned look because I'm sure that some of you have really been longing for a somewhat more neutral, cool look. So far we've done quite a few like warmer toned looks, but that's also because Mother hasn't really given us that much like cool tones to work with. There are a few here and there, but as a overall they're not really that many. So let's hope that the new Mothership that's coming, I'm going to start applying my foundation, by the way. I'm going to go for my Dior Backstage foundation. I really enjoy this foundation. I have a little bit left here in my little bottle and I've been kind of like saving it to use up after I finish my Estee Lauder Double Wear. But I think I got a bit of like summer color on my face and this foundation matches me a little bit better in the summer than it does in the winter. Whereas the Estee foundation does actually match me better in the winter because it's a bit lighter in tone. So I think for now I'll have to retire the Estee foundation and hopefully finish it up anyway by the end of the year, but just not right now. So, as a lot of you have probably already seen on Instagram, Mother's teasing a new release and I am like 99.99% sure it's going to be a Mothership because first of all we are due another Mothership. It's been a year, exactly actually a year since Utopian Dream. And also the teaser image she released, pretty much already you could see like the little stringy part, like this part here on the side of the box that she was revealing. And honestly, unless she's really like pulling a leg on us and trying to trick us with similar packaging but a different product, I think it's going to be a Mothership. A lot of you have been freaking out in my Instagram like message section about all the roses that are on display on the packaging. So from what everyone could tell so far, there are a lot of similarities between the packaging of the new palette and the packaging of Utopian Dream. It's essentially the same packaging but like with different hues on it. And from what I could tell from the video, I saw like a bit of like peach and red and like cooler toned, almost pastel purple hues. So I am very curious to see where she's going. Unlike a lot of you, I'm not actually that worried about the roses and the pink because honestly her inspo hasn't really contained much pink. It's been pretty like silver and like metallic, like metal, like almost like the Metamorphosis palette types of, you know, eyeshadows, but more like the cooler side. I'm grabbing the Dior Backstage powder to match the foundation, obviously. She's been alluding a lot to like, let me go onto her Instagram. First of all, in darkness there is light. Interesting, that was the reveal of the box that we saw yesterday. Then she says golden rain. Okay, maybe we're getting also gold because it's a metallic, so okay, it is possible we're getting another gold. I'm sorry. Then she says this one is a very good one. I'm sure you've seen this one, it's a very cool one. She says mesmerizing metallics, liquid shard sculpture. So I don't really know what to think. I'm thinking, is it possible we're getting another type of decadence palette with like only metallic shades? Or is she alluding to like the color story of the palette itself? To be honest with you, my personal feelings are I'm just really excited to be getting a Mothership palette. I've never been disappointed by a Mothership palette. I have to say also firmly disagree with people who think that Utopian Dream is a pink palette. I don't think Utopian Dream is a pink palette. I think it's more peach and like coral leaning, and I don't really associate Utopian Dream with pink at all. To me, like the pink tones were done with the Divine Rose 2 palette and like that Rose Decadence and the subsequent releases that were still very much in the Divine Rose frame, like Eternal Eden and stuff. But to me, already with Utopian Dream, she had taken a step away from the pinks. Have you ever been disappointed by your Mothership palette, even when you were like at first glance and at first sight underwhelmed by what you saw in the photos, but then you received it. Have you ever really been underwhelmed? I personally have not. Maybe you have, in which case you can, you know, consider your options when the release is like fully available and she shows the actual color story. I am sure that whatever is revealed, I will be buying it because I trust Mother to create the most beautiful curation of colors and textures when it comes to her motherships. Now, I think that is all the rambling I'm going to do at this time for the Mothership 10 release. We're going to talk about it again once she has released the actual images and the first like glance at what the palette is going to look like, which I suspect is going to be probably Friday afternoon. But for now, I want to revisit the blush duo in Paradise Glow because I want to actually put on my face this next to Paradise Venus and Desert Orchid. I'm going to go in with the lighter shade of the Paradise Glow duo, the one that is supposedly a dupe for Desert Orchid. I think it's a little bit deeper than Desert Orchid. So I'm going to apply this here, and then we're going to apply Desert Orchid on the other side of my face so that we can directly compare these two shades with each other. I did try that a little bit last week, and I even left like a little update note underneath my video to say that I personally couldn't really detect much difference, and neither could my husband. Now I'm going to go into the Desert Orchid blush, which visibly looks lighter in tone and swatches lighter in tone, but is it really going to be very different from the lighter shade in the Paradise Glow duo? We shall see. I think both of them have that beautiful luminous sheen to them because they have a bit of a pearl finish. Okay, here you have the shade from the blush duo, Paradise Glow, and here you have Desert Orchid. I'm sorry guys, I can barely tell a difference. To me they're like essentially the same shade, 95% the same shade. If there are differences, they're very, very minute. I'm going back into Paradise Glow and taking Paradise Venus, or supposedly Paradise Venus. I've never been able to actually confirm that this really is the case. And I'm going to apply this here more like almost as a bronzer shade. And let's apply Paradise Venus from the single on the other side. Alright, so here you have Paradise Venus from the Glow duo, and here you have original Paradise Venus. I don't know, can you detect differences? I think on the face I can't really tell that there's much of a difference. Maybe this is just slightly more vibrant and slightly more pink, and this is slightly more subtle. Overall, I think no one on the planet would be able to tell that I did not do my cheeks with the same blush. That's what it comes down to. I'm going to apply a little bit of my Golden Moonlight highlighter. I'm still waiting for the replacement for this highlighter. I think it's coming though. I'm pretty sure it will be probably here by the end of the week. It's coming with DHL Express, but I think it was held up somewhere along the way. Otherwise it would have been here already yesterday, I think. I almost forgot, I'm going to apply a tiny bit of bronzer. I'm going to take my Milk bronzer in the shade Baked, which has started to smell a bit strong of like paint or like Play-Doh, like that scent people usually associate with like a cream product going off. I haven't noticed like that it irritates my skin or anything, but it's the first like product in my collection that I open and I'm truly like, oh, I can smell this. So I have the feeling that this bronzer is probably going to have to be trashed by the end of the year. But for now I'm still going to continue using it because, like I said, I detect a little bit of the smell, but not to the point where I think it's so offensive that I'm scared to put it on my face. But I'm starting to notice that it smells, and I'm a little bit sad because I actually really like that bronzer. And there is still a crap ton of product in here, even though I have used this bronzer so much. If you've been around my channel, you have seen me use this bronzer a lot. So I really hope I can still make use of this bronzer. If any of you has this bronzer, have you also noticed something like this, that it went off relatively quickly, like relatively quickly. I bought this in the fall of 2020, so it's already almost 2 years old, but like, I'm just curious. Let me know if you have this bronzer, what happened to yours. I've zoomed you in so we can get started on the eye look. For the first palette I'm going to go into, of course, is going to be Subliminal, and the little transition shade we have over here, the light cool toned mid-tone brown, which of course is going to go through my crease. I'm just going to fluff it real quick. Ooh, something's going on with my left eye, guys. I have no idea what's going on, but I look a bit like a vampire, sorry. We were rudely cut off by my camera because she decided that her battery is empty, so I had to like go and plug everything in. But for this next step, I'm going to take just the tiniest bit of this like deeper brown shade, just to add a little bit of definition to the outer corners here. Oh, I fucked up a little bit. I put my brush wrong, and now I have a little dot here. Nothing a little bit of concealer and a Q-tip can't fix. I want to give you a fair warning. I am dying to talk about the season finale of Stranger Things, but I'm going to give you one more day to catch up, and then tomorrow or the day after we're going to absolutely be talking about Stranger Things, because I have so much to say about this season. I enjoyed it so very much. And this is going to be a little bit more dramatic than I thought I was going to go for. I'm going to blend this out a little bit because it's becoming slightly more dramatic than I was aiming for, to be honest with you. For those of you who do watch the show, did you already watch everything? Are we ready to talk about it? Or should I give you like a week more time or a few more days? Please do let me know. In the meantime, I am going to be applying a little bit of my NYX glitter glue. So there is a metallic shade in the Subliminal palette, which theoretically you can use on your lid to like substitute the next shade that I want to pull out from another palette. And the shade that I'm referring to is this one here in the middle. However, while this shade is really beautiful, very much cool toned, it has this beautiful like taupe gray tone to it. I find it a little too deep to use on my lids. On my lids I like to use something that is a little bit lighter in tone, because it works better with my eye shape to like elongate my eyes a little bit. An eyeshadow like the one from the Subliminal palette is very pretty, but it's very smoky, and it's not the kind of effect that I usually like to go for. So what I've been doing lately instead is pulling out my Decadence palette, where you have this beautiful cool toned taupe brown silver with like sort of like greenish tones to it, which looks beautiful on the lid. It sort of has the same like shimmery satin texture to it. It's not a glittery shade, but it is more like lightening on my lids. So that's the shade I'm going to use all over my lids today, and I'm just going to use a brush. This is one of my favorite neutral cool toned shades that Mother has ever made. And I really hope that she does shades like this someday in her VR Blitz and Astral formula, so that we can also have like the amped up sparkly versions of these eyeshadows. Obviously you can use your finger to apply this shade, but because it's not the kind of shade where it really matters how you're going to apply it, it's always going to look like this. It's not a super glittery shade, it's not like a very metallic shade, it's just a really pretty like satin sheen to it. It doesn't really matter what tool you're going to use to apply it. And now for this next part, if you don't want to keep the look strictly neutral, you can go with the tiniest bit of this silver shade into your inner corners. But because I'm being a good girl and I want to show you like the neutral side of Pat's palettes, we're going to go back into the Subliminal palette and take the Skin Show shade from Mothership 1 and pop that here into the inner corner of the eye. I actually really like the Skin Show shade in this palette because it is like that perfect champagne. It doesn't lean too gold and it doesn't lean too pink. I really like the Skin Show shade in Bronze Seduction and Mothership 3 Subversive. They're more on like the golden champagne side. I think the one that I truly dislike is the Skin Show shade in the Sublime palette, the Mothership 2, because it's just very chalky and very pink, and I just really don't like it. Of course, this look would be nothing if we didn't do a little bit of layering. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of the Astral White shade here from the Subliminal palette, and I'm going to pop that on the lid over top of that Blitz shade. And depending on the effect that you're going for, if you want to go more subtle, you can just use your finger and just dab a little bit of that. I don't want to go subtle at all, so I'm going to take my little shader brush here and I'm going to spritz it with a bit of Fix Plus, so that it applies slightly more metallic on the lids, and it just gives that beautiful, like, ethereal, fairy blue sparkle sheen over top of that taupe shade, and it just looks so pretty. And finally, to complete the look on my lower lash line, I am going to use this deeper taupe shade because I think it would look beautiful there. And just run it here underneath my lower lashes. Obviously you can apply the matte shades that we put through the crease and outer corner, but I want to put this shade into you, so I'm going to run it here on my lower lash line. Alright you guys, this is the final look. I apologize for the bloodshot left eye. I have no idea what's going on with her. All of a sudden she got really mad at me. I don't know why. To complete the look, I chose this relatively old lipstick from Anastasia Beverly Hills, also the only lipstick that I have from Anastasia Beverly Hills at this point, which is the shade Latte, which is this gorgeous, like, deeper, cooler toned brown nude shade. And because I find this lipstick just to be a little bit too, I don't know, it's not my favorite formula, and I wanted something a little bit creamier over top of that, I applied the tiniest bit of the Lisa Eldridge gloss in the shade Affair. Speaking of Lisa Eldridge, Lisa is releasing a few new lipsticks coming Friday, and I'm really excited for that because she's releasing a bunch of new shades in the luxuriously lucient formula, like the sheer creamy formula, which reminds me I really need to pull out Atomic Cherry because now is the best time of the year to wear that lipstick. And I really like that formula. The shade Spirited Away, easily one of my favorite, like, neutral lipsticks of all time. Oh, I could have worn that lipstick today. Never mind. Anyway, I've already made my choice. It's done. Let me know what you thought about this look. This is one of my go-to looks, especially when it comes to this shade from the Decadence palette. It was pretty much an eyeshadow that I was never using until I discovered this combination of colors, and this became my favorite way to use this eyeshadow. So pretty much whenever I use this eyeshadow, I go for this look, and then I will slightly change up what I put over top of that. Sometimes I won't put anything, other times I will put the Astral from Midnight Sun, or I will put the this Astral here from the Subliminal palette. So I will switch a little bit up what goes on in terms of, like, glitter, but the rest of the colors, the two mattes from the Subliminal palette and this shade on the lid, is something that I do quite often, especially in the winter months. Hopefully you enjoyed this slightly more cool toned neutral look with this palette. Let me know what you thought about the comparison between the blushes. Let me know what you thought about this look. As usual, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get to work and I will see you next time. Bye!